there, my beautiful friends, and welcome to another recipe video, one of many on my channel. I've been doing this for quite a long time, and I will admit, not every single week is easy for me to get into the kitchen, and I have to muster up the energy to cook. But these are some recipes that made me excited to get into the kitchen, made me excited to feel my body. They made me feel full and nourished after, and in my mind, food should add value to your life and not take away from it. So when I am feeling a little bit low energy in the kitchen, I like to make bulk meals, something I can snack on for multiple days in a row, or something completely different that I've never made before, and I just want to see how it turns out, see what happens. So I hope these recipes inspire you to get into the kitchen, nourish your body, fuel your body, and please always remember that food is a beautiful part of life and nothing to be scared of. All right, now without further ado, let's dive into it. Diving into recipe number 1, this mixed mushroom and hummus plate. It's the simplest of all of the recipes that I've made this week, but it's a combination I've never done before, so it made me excited to get in the kitchen, try something new. I started it off by adding some chili oil to my pot, along with a few sprigs of rosemary and a bunch of mixed mushrooms. I was lucky to buy a container that was full of mixed mushrooms. I would recommend doing a variety of mushrooms for this recipe instead of just one, because it makes you feel like a little fairy forest nymph just eating foraged mushrooms that you bought from the grocery store, you know what I mean? After they got a nice brown on them and I seasoned them well with salt and a lot of pepper, I plated up some hummus along with the mushrooms, and for a little bit of freshness, brightness, and sweetness for the recipe, I added a nectarine, just put the wedges in random little places across the plate and sprinkled a bit of smoked paprika and drizzled a little more chili oil on top. I also would recommend enjoying this one with some warm, fresh sourdough bread. That would just level everything up. Recipe number 2, we gotta turn some oats into oat flour because we are making blueberry pancakes with a chocolatey, sugary, delicious sauce on top. But once we got our oat flour made or out of the package, we're gonna add a cup worth to a bowl along with 2 scoops of vanilla protein powder, some salt, some sugar, olive oil, grapeseed oil, you can also do coconut oil, cinnamon to taste. I did about half of a teaspoon worth, some plant milk, whatever kind you got in the house, oat milk, soy milk, cashew milk, a tablespoon worth of apple cider vinegar, and about a cup worth of frozen blueberries. You can add a little bit less or add a little bit more depending on your blueberry preferences. I also added a tablespoon worth of mixed seeds just because I have them in the house and I want to use them. Got some coconut oil into my pot, which I think is a non-stick pot, but as time goes on it becomes less non-stick. And you may be thinking, why are you also making pancakes in a pot? Well, it's the only non-stick quote-unquote pan that I have. And because of all of these issues, I did have to add a little bit of flour to the recipe, which you 100% do not have to do yourself. I have a tried and true blueberry pancake recipe on my website that you can just go and copy, and as long as you have a non-stick pan, you will not have the troubles that I had. But anyways, this delicious chocolatey, sugary sauce, we're dissolving some sugar in a little bit of water on the stove on low heat, adding a heaping tablespoon worth of cocoa powder, and once we have the right consistency, we're gonna drizzle that all on top. You can also make your life so much simpler by just drizzling maple syrup on it, but maple syrup is way too expensive in South Africa, and when I go back to Canada, I am buying like 17 million liters of maple syrup and bringing it back here. I'm gonna leave the clothes, leave all of the things behind, and just have a backpack full of maple syrup. Security at the airport will think I'm weird, but they just don't understand the love of maple syrup. They just won't get it, and that's okay. We gotta do what's right for us. While I sit down to have my breakfast, I am also going to take a Magic Mind shot. I have been loving these before I record a podcast or sit down and have like way too much work to do and I'm just like not a focused human. So I am about to record a Q&A and this Magic Mind shot is going to bring me through that along with my fueled pancake breakfast recipe. It's like a natural energy drink with matcha and adaptogenic mushrooms. There's so many good proven things to help your focus and lower stress, or reduce stress, I should say. There's also your daily amount of vitamin C and D in here. It is just an all-around great little thing that I have been using as a wonderful productive tool, productivity tool. And I have just been drinking it as a shot, like a little cup of juice. And it doesn't have to replace your morning coffee. Still enjoy your morning coffee, but if you're looking for more mental clarity, this is the one for you. For hours, I feel dialed in. First had the opportunity to try them. They just sent me things to try. I've now been using them on a regular basis for the last couple months. You've seen them in some of my videos before. So if you are looking for something new to try to help your productivity, I recommend giving these Magic Mind shots a try, literally and figuratively, because they are little Magic Mind shots. You can click my link down in the description box and use my code JuliaA20 to get 48, let me just double check this, 48% off. That's pretty incredible. I hope you enjoy them as much as I have been, and they may be the answer to help you focus staring at your computer screen all day or whatever you have to focus on a daily basis. Thank you so much, Magic Mind, for sending me these and helping my productivity. This green goddess curry will make you feel like a goddess after, because it is just packed full of veggies and flavor. So let's dive into it, chopping my millionth onion in my life. Well, half of an onion, I should say. And once we got that nice and diced, I set it aside, chopping up some fennel stalks. Fennel stalks is totally optional for this recipe. I just had fennel in the house and wanted to use the stalks, and it did add a lovely flavor to the recipe as well. So I do recommend it, but it's optional. I also chopped up a couple leeks and a couple little zucchinis as well. Once we got all of the chopping done, I added a big scoop of coconut oil into a warm pan, along with half of a tablespoon of coriander seed, half a teaspoon of cumin seed, half a teaspoon of mustard seed, a handful of curry leaves. Do not underestimate the power of curry leaves. They are so delicious. And a heaping teaspoon of black pepper. Again, this is on warm heat, and I would recommend throwing all of these spices into a mortar and pestle and breaking them up first. I just don't have one. But after a few minutes, I added my leeks, onion, fennel stalks, and also a handful of kale stalks that I chopped up as well. 3 to 4 cloves of minced garlic, 1 small jalapeno, or to taste, totally up to you and your spice preference. 1 can of coconut milk. For a little extra salty goodness, I'm adding half of a tablespoon of soup stock, along with half of a cup of water and 3/4 a cup of split green peas that are dried and I rinsed really well. Once that came to a boil for about 8 minutes or so, I added some sprouted chickpeas. You do not have to use sprouted chickpeas, but you definitely gotta soak your chickpeas overnight before you add them to this recipe, or just use a can of chickpeas. Because this is a bulk meal, I am plating up some leftovers the next day, along with some rice. I love being able to pack so many things into one dish and also have so much of the dish that I just don't have to think about lunch or dinner. It just takes so much stress off my plate and I love it. I served it with a wedge of lime and a little sprinkle of fresh cilantro. Another little recommendation, if you'd like, before you add the split peas and lentils, you can take half of the mixture and blend it. So that way it's like a creamy green sauce with split peas and lentils. Almost like aloo palak, and I'm probably saying that wrong. My tried and true feel-good recipe, if you know me, you know it's rice noodle stir fry, and of course we all knew it was coming in this recipe video. It gives me life, it gives me energy, it gives me joy, and that's what food should do. I started off by slicing an onion. I also julienned a carrot, chopped a red pepper in half, took the top, the stem, and the little pith out of it, sliced it up along with some red cabbage as well. I bought some broccolini for this recipe because I thought that would be delicious. I'm using all of these very classic stir-fry vegetables, but really use what you have in the house. It does not have to be the same flavor combination as me, but I do feel like onion, carrot, and broccoli are super classic for a stir-fry, so I wouldn't opt those out necessarily. For the rice noodles, I'm adding half of a package into a bowl and then pouring some boiling water on top. pushing them all down, submerging them, placing a plate or a lid on top of the bowl, and then setting it aside. And of course, a rice noodle stir fry would not be one without a butt ton of garlic, in my mind. Once I got a nice browning on my onion, I added my carrot and broccolini, a little pinch of salt, and after a couple minutes, I then added my red pepper, my garlic, and also some chopped ginger as well. For the sauce, I am squeezing 2 limes into a bowl, and a little tip that I have, if you do not have a lime juicer, just shove a spoon in there and twist. You'll get all of the juice out of those limes, guaranteed. I then added 2 tablespoons worth of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon worth of sesame oil, a tablespoon and a half worth of sugar, and 1 tablespoon of this sriracha-like sauce. I would say it's not as spicy as actual sriracha sauce, so add your spicy sauce to your taste liking. Once the rice noodles were done, I strained them and rinsed them in cold water. And then at the very end of the stir fry, I added my red cabbage and my tofu. Because the tofu was already seasoned, marinated, and full of flavor, it really just had to be warmed up for this dish. But if you're using plain tofu, I do recommend marinating it and then frying it first, setting it aside, doing all the vegetables, doing all the rice noodles, making all the sauce, and then just combining everything together at the end. I also threw some fresh coriander on top and served myself up a big bowl of it. This easily serves 2 people, potentially 3, depending on how hungry everyone is. And oof, the way the sun is lighting up this rice noodle stir fry, come on, she's gorgeous.
Alright, I can't wait any longer. Just because I'm a sriracha gal, I'm gonna add a little extra. This is so good. I love that the vegetables still have a bit of a crunch to them, so I recommend do not overcook the vegetables. Rice noodles are just my favorite.
And here we are, our last recipe, this creamy mushroom rice dish, which is perfect for meal prep, by the way, as long as you have somewhere to warm it up at school or work, wherever you're going on a daily basis. It wouldn't be so good cold, but I mean, you can also meal prep this and enjoy it at home for dinner multiple days in a row, if that's your vibe. Got it started by chopping my millionth and second onion in my lifetime, dicing this one, not slicing it. And then I had the same package of mushrooms that I used for the first recipe, just a variety of different mushrooms, slicing the ones that needed to be sliced, breaking apart the ones that needed to be broken apart, and then getting lots of olive oil into a pot along with my onion and all of my mushrooms. Throwing a lid on top and allowing everything to do its thing and get all juicy and delicious and brown. In the meantime, I'm mincing a butt ton of garlic because garlic is love, garlic is life. Garlic is me. Once we got some brown on our onions and mushrooms, I added my carrot, realized that I still had a leek in the house I needed to use, a little bit of salt, and my garlic. Allowing that to become nice and fragrant for about 45 seconds to a minute before adding 1 cup of brown rice that I rinsed. Along with 1 cup of coconut milk. The coconut milk did end up having a little bit of DNA, so my recipe is going to be slightly different than yours due to the fact that it had my DNA in it. That actually sounds so disgusting. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyways, we're going to add lots of black pepper, like a lot, like 2 teaspoons worth, 2 teaspoons worth of basil, 3 bay leaves, 2 sprigs worth of rosemary. Again, you can pick them out before the little needles start falling off into the dish. Also adding 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1 teaspoon of soup stock, and about 1/2 cup of water. Depending on a lot of things, you may need to add a little bit more water or you may need to add a little bit less. As you saw, I also added 1/2 cup of red split lentils along with my zucchini. And for this one, really just taste as you go. Once the rice and the lentils are cooked then you're good. You're ready to eat it and enjoy it. Another little note on the rosemary is instead of throwing the whole sprig in there, you can just take off the little pine needles and chop them up really finely, or put them in a mortar and pestle and crush them. We do want some rosemary flavor to this dish, but we just don't want to be eating a tree, so just keep that in mind. I garnished my dish with a little bit of fennel, sprig, leaves, things, and thoroughly enjoyed.
And before we get going, I just want to say another big thank you to Magic Mind, and if you'd like to try them out, you can click the link down in the description box, use my code JuliaA20 for 48% off your purchase. That's an amazing deal. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you try any of these recipes, please let me know down in the comments. I always love hearing about modifications that you're making and how you've enjoyed them. I love you, I appreciate you, and I'll see you again so very soon. Mwah! Mwah!